Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Geonosis, where we talk about Star Wars from a certain point of view. I'm Angie, and tonight I'm with Jim Gallant. And so we are at, I said that right, correct?
Yes, you did.
I am at Lane Breakers with Jim, and we are going to do interviews with the guys who are doing the X-Wing tabletop games. So I've done a show before with tabletop games, but we've never really come to watch it. So we just talked about it, but we didn't watch it. So tonight we're going to get a chance to watch it. But before we do that, we're going to be doing some hot happenings of the week. So tonight, today, Galaxy's Edge opened, but reservations only until the end of June, correct?
Approximately, yeah. I think it's June 24th, roughly.
Now, I know some people have gone in early.
Yes.
We've seen some pictures from people, and that's Disney, people who work for Disney. Yeah. And I know they did a grand opening last night and recorded it because I watched it last night.
Yes,
so with that, they had some heavy hitters in attendance. They had Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney, George Lucas.
Yes.
They had the maker, and then they had Billy D. Williams, Colt 45, Mark Hamill, and Harrison Ford, who is now a Force ghost?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, he didn't use the Force, but it's possible that the Force worked through him.
Yes, but now that he's gone, Han Solo is gone, he could be a Force ghost when he went up there on stage.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you're going to have to help me with this name. The guy who played Solo in the movie Han Solo, his name is
Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich. Oh my God, that's a lot. He's the young Han Solo.
Yeah.
I saw pictures of him with the guy from Coffee with Kenobi.
Right, yeah, Dan Zier, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really cool that everybody is there wanting to be part of it. I kind of wish Daisy had been there.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I think she's working right now, so she's unable to come,
Right. But I mean, I would have liked even to see Kylo Ren there.
Yeah.
It would have been really cool to see them, but who knows? They may have been there. Now, have you seen any of the swag that they have there?
I've seen it on video and images.
Right.
And everything, from Doc Ondar's, was it Den of Antiquities, I believe they call it. And it has a bunch of collectible things that you can buy. Savi's Saber Shop, where you can build your own lightsaber.
I've seen that, yes.
Custom lightsabers. Droid Depot, where you can make your own droid. You can make your own astromech droids. I mean, there's a million things. What is it called? Something Outfitters, where you can get your own costume even,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Our own Lord Bruticus, Joe Mignano, he got to go. And he said, he saw a Emperor Palpatine cane.
Oh, wow.
That, he walked around with. And that went for about $200 to give you an idea of what some of the screen-accurate props and some of the costumes are going to cost.
Oh, my gosh. I saw a droid today, the R2-D2, and they said it was they said that one that was in the Disney store was $25,000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the full-scale big,
I'm like, $25,000, and I was looking at the kitchenware. I can't even imagine what that is, because they had a really cool R2-D2 bowl.
Right.
Like a salad bowl. I cannot imagine. It's probably $250.
I don't know if it'll be $250, but it'll probably be
somewhere in that neighborhood. All right. So also what I saw was a lot of drinks.
Yes.
It looks like, they have blue milk. They have non-alcohol and alcoholic drinks.
Yes.
I've seen that only 6 people can be inside the Falcon.
At a time, right.
At a time. Right. I can't imagine if you had Dan Morningstar was there today, 600 people, you're probably in a 6-hour wait.
But what I'm guessing is that in terms of the ride mechanics and from what, what's behind, kind of behind the walls, there's probably more than one cockpit. So they're going to be able to have more than one crew running at a time.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like how Star Tours is, where they have actually 3 Starspeeder 1000s.
Oh, inside?
Right, inside the building. You don't see them all at once because you're going to one and you're in one and you don't know that the other ones are over here, holding other folks. And they're probably going to do the same thing with the Falcon because having only 6 people going through at a time on a 20-minute, mission ride that's going to be really slow.
Oh, I thought they said it was 6 minutes.
Well, 6, however.
But even so,
yeah,
you're talking about 600 people trying to get on a ride.
Yeah, it's. I would guess that there's probably 3 or 4 actual cockpits, and and the cast will, they pick your crew, they give you a random chip, it's like a colored chip, and it will have like 2 pilots, 2 gunners, and 2 engineers.
Yeah.
And you get one of those, and then you go with that crew, and that cast member will lead you to that cockpit. And there'll be other cast members leading other people to another cockpit, most likely. That's my guess. That way they can run 3 or 4 at a time. So they're running, 20, 25 people.
Yeah, trying to get them through. But still, 25 people is going to take a while.
Yeah,
but you know what? It's a ride of a lifetime.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be worth the wait,
Yeah.
And you get to sit in the main hold, you get to, around the Dejaric table and chill out and you take pictures. And I think part of the attraction experience is that the cast is kind of giving you a little bit of time to kind of like take it in, and go, oh look, this is,
Yeah.
there's Luke's, there's the helmet that Luke wore on the Falcon when he was training with his lightsaber,
Yeah, oh my God.
Little things like that. From what I understand, there are Easter eggs throughout all of Galaxy's Edge. So in terms of like finding little things that are interesting.
That's probably why you've got to go a few times.
Well, yeah, to get the whole experience, it's going to take probably several visits to go in and check it out and see all these little details. Because if you have the Disney Play app and you have that running, it'll convert into a Star Wars like data pad, and you can interact with elements of the land. You can translate all of the words that you see, because they're all written in Aurebesh, and you'll be able to see all that stuff and translate that. There'll be signals that you can intercept and you can hack into, and
wow.
And from what I understand also is that when you go in, you'll be either a smuggler, a member of the First Order, or a member of the Resistance, and you'll be able to either it chooses you or you get to choose. I don't know.
Much like the Force.
Yeah, and it's and then you'll be able to interact with the world in that way. And you can go to the cantina, get something to drink. They do, like you said, they do have alcoholic beverages.
Taste the blue milk.
Everything is completely immersive and in universe. So like if you want a Coke, you're not going to be getting a Coke like in a Coke can or a Coke bottle. It's going to look like a thermal detonator.
I saw that.
And it's going to be written in, Aurebesh font. It'll look like Coca-Cola, script, but it's in Aurebesh.
It's super cool. I mean, everything in there. I thought, if I went tomorrow, I just wouldn't have enough money.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't have enough money.
I figured I'd need about $2,500 to get everything I wanted. Figure at least one lightsaber, at least one astromech droid, and then random things that might be cool. There's statues and little things you can buy. You can buy like Hera's Calicori from Rebels.
Wow.
Just all kinds of stuff.
Oh man, it looks fantastic, and I think, honestly, I think it's going to blow Harry Potter's land out of the water. I mean, not to talk badly about that, but it is so much more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, I've never been to Universal and to see.
I haven't gone yet either.
The Harry Potter experience, and I'd like to. I mean, I'm sure it'll be cool. But Star Wars is closest to my heart.
Yes.
It's obviously
close to a lot of people.
It's gonna move me. And from the people I know who've seen it, my friends and other influencers who've been there, I mean, people are going in there and coming out with tears,
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And the ambience of the experience, you're walking along, you'll hear a ship fly over you, at random, and of course you're gonna have First Order troops, you're gonna have the cast members dressed as various costumes, and things are happening, my understanding. There's a character called Vi, and I believe she's from the Poe Dameron comics. She's one of the pilots. I could be wrong about that. I have to do some research. But there's like a little like gun battle that goes on, and you'll see Chewie, and you'll see a bunch of people, and you see First Order troops fighting Resistance troops.
Oh man.
And and that's like ambient, and just the goings on
Well, that's what would be going on in the galaxy.
Right, and
That's really cool.
Because since Black Spire is not a member necessarily of the Republic or the First Order, it's kind of
like Ahsoka. She's kind of there, but she's not there. She's a Jedi, but she's not a Jedi. And I think that's why she escaped Order 66.
Yeah, well,
but that's a story for another time.
Well, if you read the Ahsoka novel, that is a story for another time, but it actually kind of explains what happens.
Yeah, I read that. It's wonderful.
And it may be tied in with season 7 of Clone Wars, which is
I think it
out.
is. I think it is. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now, what I read yesterday was the original Star Wars was made on a budget of $11 million. You think by now they've made that over about 20 trillion times.
Well, I mean, they made it back in 78,
They made it back in like 2 days.
I mean, I'm sure, between you and me, I mean, I saw the original Star Wars when it came out, when I was a kid. I saw it at least 50 times in the theater. Of course, the tickets weren't as much in 77, 78.
But still, at that time, they were priced for the day.
Oh, of course, yeah. And I remember reading about opening day, and Lucas was actually in Hawaii because he was done. I'm gonna go take a vacation and rest and relax and kind of forget about it a little bit. And because if most people don't remember that the movie only opened in like 32 screens, very, very small.
But Man's Chinese for sure.
Oh yeah, Man's was one. I went to the one in Boston when I was that age, but what he started hearing was oh yeah, they're lining up around the building to wait to see this movie, and it's selling out every showing. And he's starting to hear this, and it was like over and over. And then theaters started requesting the film because, it's going to make money. They want to make money. Right. And the first week was 32. The next week it was like 100, and it kind of blew up, right? And then this is the first movie that basically stayed the entire summer. The concept of what we call blockbusters today, that it didn't exist back then.
Right, I mean, they were making it happen back then. Yeah, they were inventing it.
Right. And it was one of the first. I mean, I think Jaws, which came out in
Godfather.
And The Godfather. Godfather came out in 73, 74.
Right.
And then Jaws came out in 75. They were very popular films, and they did very well, obviously. And they kind of started, but Star Wars really just blew everything out of the water, and it became the best-selling film of all time until Titanic 20 years later.
Yeah, you're right.
And so Lucas he actually made a bet with Steve Spielberg. He says, if my movie makes more than your movie, because Close Encounters came out the same year.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember that, but Close Encounters of the Third Kind also came out in 77. And so, if my movie outdoes your movie, I'll give you points in my movie in terms of profit. There's like at 1 point or half a point. I can't remember how much. But Lucas ended up, I think, I can't remember how it worked out, but it ended up that Spielberg ended up making like $15 million out of it.
Wow.
Because, in the end, the original run, Star Wars made like $400 million. They made it back.
Yeah, and in that time, $400 million was a lot.
And that $11 million you're talking about, that's not the original budget. That was over budget because Fox gave them only 10 to start, and he was making the first movie, and he was going through what at the time was the problems of the day. The worst storm in Tunisia in 50 years hit, and it rained, and that's why Tatooine looked really kind of dark and murky, because it wasn't sunny every day there. They had rain, and it normally never rained in Tunisia.
Right.
He was having trouble with the crew in England when he was filming at Elstree Studios, because they have very, very strong unions in England for the film crews. And then it's like, we're leaving at 6:00, and he's all, can you stay for like one more shot? He would have to ask, and they would have to agree or not if they want to do like one more shot if it goes over time.
I bet everybody who was involved with that now is really glad that they did.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, back then they didn't understand what they were doing. Half of them, they were like, "What are we doing?"
Even Mark said, he gave his friend the script to read because he thought it was so silly.
Yeah, well, that friend was the guy who played Freddy Krueger.
Oh my God.
Robert Eklund, and they were, and it was like, it was like a lark, right? But Mark, he read it and he made the right decision by playing it straight, playing it sincere, like it was real and not funny and not,
right.
And because he kind of got it, because he was a comic book kid and he had, he liked that kind of stuff already. Him and Lucas were very much on a page in that regard, and so he's like, I'm going to play it straight, and then he was, he encouraged the other actors to do the same, and ultimately, victory, and it just...
And we're here now.
Of course, we're here now.
And here we are, here we are, 40 years later, 41 years later, and we're in the midst of these guys playing these games.
Yep.
The tabletop games. Now, you said how long have you been doing the tabletops?
Well, I started playing Dungeons & Dragons in 1982. And then, so I've been playing tabletop for years. And then I started playing the Star Wars role-playing game in 1995. And that was the second edition of West End's games.
Right. And they came out in 1987.
Right.
Which was 10 years after the first movie.
Correct.
Now, what I read with that is that with the West End games, that's where the Twirkle came from. The green girl with how they invented the Twi'lek.
Well, they invented a lot of the names for the background characters and the races and stuff like that, because some of that wasn't established yet. And when the first edition of the game came out, and they came out with the first edition source book and various other source books that came after, they were filling in blanks that didn't exist yet, in terms of planet names and ship names and alien species, names.
Now, Lucas was okay with that.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't really doing anything with it. He was, in Lucas's mind, he was done with the movies. The only thing that was going on at the time was the Marvel Comics. They were finishing out its run. 107 issues at that time.
Oh, wow.
And then Ewoks and Droids was playing, the Ewok Adventure movie, stuff like that. But a lot of that was all one-shots, and Lucas was already moving forward doing other things. He was working on Willow, with Ron Howard. And so he was okay with letting West End to go, okay, yeah, you want to put a name to this? Sure, because we're not going to worry about it right now. And, that established a lot of stuff that would later come into the early expanded universe, which would be populated by Dark Horse Comics, starting in 1993.
Right.
And, of course, Tim Zahn's books, which started with, Heir to the Empire in 1991. That book established the name Coruscant. That's where it comes from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Zahn named the capital planet of the Empire.
But all with the blessing of George.
Yeah, it was all, everything would go through Lucasfilm licensing and the various book, executives there. And, yeah, everything ultimately, he would either sign off on it or somebody underneath him would sign off on it.
Now, what I've also read was that with the West End games, they used some of it for some of the movies. They used the information for some of the movies.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that these guys were given the opportunity to create the game, but then also they turned around and used that information for the movies. But I believe it was Disney. Disney ended up buying it, right, for the West End games?
Well, basically, what happened in the late 90s, West End Games was about to go out of business. They were having some financial trouble. And
much like Kenner.
Yeah, which happens, And the Star Wars license for gaming went to a company called Wizards of the Coast. And they became the makers of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering and mini games. in the late 90s and early 2000s. So the license went to them, and they published in 2000 the Star Wars role-playing game, what they would call the D20 version, in around the year 2000.
That was because Phantom Menace was coming out, right? Because Phantom Menace came out in '99.
Correct.
So now you have a rebirth of interest in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's and that first edition of that book, I mean, it had Anakin on the cover. And,
oh wow.
And Senator Palpatine, and that kind of stuff. And they started making expansions, and it sold pretty well. And they did a revised version of that game in 2003, and it ran well. And then in 2007, they did another revision. It's called Saga Edition, and that ran until 2010. And then the license got sold away from them, or I'm not sure. I don't want to say take it away from them, because Wizards is still doing business today.
Right. So it just
fine.
so the Star Wars games just went to a new person,
right?
A new company.
Yeah. I think basically the license just expired, and they didn't choose to renew it. Franchise licenses are very expensive; can cost up into the millions of dollars, depending on what product you're working on.
So now with the new X-Wing games and all the Resistance and everything else coming out, who owns that?
The license for Star Wars gaming went to a company called Fantasy Flight Games.
Okay.
And that was probably around 2010, 2011, maybe.
You're exactly right.
And they developed a new RPG called Edge of the Empire. And it's actually an RPG in 3 parts. They all started based in the Rebellion era, and they started with Edge of the Empire, where you could play characters that are like scoundrels and pirates and that kind of thing. And then they did, the next year they put out a book called Age of Rebellion, where you were more of a soldier type, where you could be like an X-Wing pilot, or or like Princess Leia, where she was kind of like a general / leader of the rebellion.
Right.
Those kind of characters. And then a year after that, they released Force and Destiny, where that fleshed out Force-sensitive characters who were either Jedi who survived Order 66, or Force.
That would be us.
Right. Or Force-sensitives who
don't know yet. Yeah,
right.
They don't know that they have it, because now at this point we no longer have the temple.
Right.
So it's like in Ahsoka's book, there was a young child who was Force sensitive, but really didn't know what that was.
Right. She didn't know she was Force sensitive. She just could do cool stuff.
Right.
And Ahsoka immediately knew, because she understood.
Right.
And so that's what Force and Destiny covers. And they've done a bunch of expansions for that, and they fleshed out all the different classes and races and stuff that you can do. And that's the current version of the RPG. And it's doing very well. A lot of people like it. I like it. I think it's pretty good. And also, in addition, Fantasy Flight Games did the X-Wing miniatures game.
Which is what we watched tonight.
Right. And that's the first game they did. Then they did Star Wars Armada, which is more of a fleet-level version.
Oh, wow.
Where the ships are at a smaller scale. So you could have stuff like Star Destroyers and Mon Calamari cruisers and squadrons of X-Wings. And
because
TIE
they're
fighters.
smaller.
Right. And so you're dealing more at a fleet scale. And that game is also available. And I think X-Wing Miniatures is in its second edition. So they've already, been around long enough to revise the rules and, correct errors and improve the rules and stuff, and come out with a second edition, which is what is available today. And all the models are usable with each other, except for Armada, because they're different scale.
Right, because they're smaller.
Right. So if you got an original X-Wing from the original game back, a couple of years back, you can still use it today. They do have updated rules cards for everything. So if you have a Han Solo Millennium Falcon that you got, which was available, 4 years ago, you can use it today. Or you can use Lando's Millennium Falcon, which is a second edition vehicle.
Yeah, that's all like, okay, we're going to debate who owns it.
Well, I'm sure that, when Billy was talking at the Galaxy's Edge dedication,
He pretty much said it's my ship.
Yeah, I'm the original owner of this thing,
And now he is again. If judging from the new movie, he is again.
Well, he's driving it at least, so
Yeah.
and that's fine by me. And my hope, it's a forlorn hope, but I hope that somehow, some way, he's able to reunite himself with L3.
Oh, wow.
Because essentially her essence or her brain or whatever
is in the ship.
And I don't know if think about this. Remember in Empire Strikes Back? Remember when 3PO was talking? He said, this ship has a peculiar dialect.
Right.
Maybe he was talking about L3.
Yes, I agree. I agree
that's
that
like a little
that's
detail.
an Easter egg.
Yeah, it's kind of an after the fact Easter egg now.
Right.
If you think about it, that's how some of the newer stuff is making the older stuff even more interesting.
Right. Who knows? He could build another frame for her.
Oh yeah.
And put the brain back in.
Well, and if you the book Last Shot, which is about Han and Lando, and it takes place in multiple time periods where you see young Han and Lando, older Han and Lando in different time periods, and spoilers because this is it does kind of spoil the end of the book. There are other versions of the L3 chassis frame running around in the galaxy, so she's not the only one.
Like
theoretically.
that, yeah. Because R2D2 wasn't the only one.
Oh no, he's, if anything, a very generic astromech droid.
Right.
He himself is unique because his memory doesn't get wiped out very often.
He's able to trick them.
And to also develop his own personality.
Right.
Because generally what happens is that droids normally who get regular memory wipes, this is like in-universe kind of lore, what'll happen is that they're very boring and kind of they don't really develop a
They just do their job.
Right, exactly. But R2, because he's not getting his memory wiped regularly, that's partially, this goes all the way back to Anakin not wiping his memory during the Clone War. And R2 developed a very distinct personality and a very, where he's very loyal, very feisty, and very opinionated.
And that's where L7 could...
You mean L3?
L3, I'm sorry. L3, oh my gosh. L3 can pretty much be the same. Would be the same.
Well, she's essentially an independent droid in almost every way you can think.
That's because Lando made her that way.
Well, yeah, and I think that's just awesome. I don't think there's a point where I didn't love her to death in that movie.
She was great.
So is there anything I can get you while I'm out? Equal rights.
Yes.
I just died, because she's just... But that's partially the brilliance of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who played L3. She's just amazing. Little point of interesting tidbit: Phoebe, she's actually, she's also, she's a comedian and a writer. She's not just an actor. But she was actually enlisted to punch up the script for the latest James Bond movie that's coming out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Bond 25 or whatever it is.
Oh, my gosh, I know, because it's 50 years with James Bond, so...
Yeah, so he's coming along too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. You're an encyclopedia. I'm glad I had you come tonight.
Oh, thanks. You let me talk, I will talk until you get sick of me, so...
But you know what? It's good to hear because at times I make mistakes when I'm talking about certain things. So I'll come back and correct it because we just talk about Star Wars from a certain point of view. So it's a lot of fun. But I like to come in and do different interviews. And the interview that we did at Comic-Con Revolution was really cool. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you got a chance to hear it all.
Not yet, no.
Okay, but it turned out really well, and I was very, very happy. You hear all kinds of interesting things, and what brings people to Star Wars? What brought them to where they are today?
Oh yeah.
So it's been really cool to learn all of this and to meet all these people and to see what everybody does and all the charity work and all the fun everybody's doing. People are doing this on a Friday night because they love it. They're playing the X-Wing games. This is what makes them happy. So it's really, really cool. It's better than being at a bar drinking.
Well, yeah, it's a great diversion and like you said, better than being at a bar drinking. I've never been in that
situation,
so I'm not too worried about it. But But then again, I've been a Star Wars fan all my life too. So I mean, this is.
I've kind of been one of those closet people just until a few years ago.
Well, yeah.
You know, I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I don't really care what people think. I'm going to get out and do what I want to do, and you know, I'm going to like what I like. I've always loved Star Wars. Saw the movie when I was a kid. You know, but I only saw it once in the movie theater. But every time it was on TV, I'd watch it. You know, and so when all three movies were in the movie theater, I saw them.
Yeah.
And it was sad when the last one, when we saw Return of the Jedi, because I thought, oh, that's it. You know, there's nothing else.
Right.
I didn't realize there was a whole different community going on behind the curtain. There were people LARPing. There were people doing the role play. There were people, you know, reading the books. I did not realize that all of that existed until recently.
Yeah. Well, it took a while to start. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, it took 10 years for a role-playing game to come out.
Right. But that's because there was a love for it.
Right, of course. And it took a few years for everything to kind of set up. I mean, there were only a few novels written on the outside of the movies themselves, the movie novelizations. There's like 7, you know, so not a heck of a lot. The Marvel comic run, which is, like I said, about 100, I think it's 107 issues, the original Marvel run. And that was about it.
And the toys. And the
of course, the action figures and whatever.
But you know what? That's what made people happy. And, you know, that's what, you know, people wanted more. It's obvious that after the 3 movies, people wanted more. And it's obvious today with Galaxy's Edge opening, you just can't get enough.
Well, yeah, it's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly how it became, you know, going just from a popular film to a pop culture, you know, phenomenon.
Because people passed it on to their kids.
Well, in part, yeah.
Yes, and people passed it on, and then these groups developed, and then you had people wanting to join, and then it just sprang up from there. It just sprang up from there. And I'm part of 3 groups right now. You're part of, are you 501st as well?
No.
Rebel Legion and Saber Guild.
Yeah, and that's, you know, it's a wonderful thing, you know, that some guy in South Carolina
came up with an idea.
Yeah, you know, this is all Albin's fault, at least for the costuming side, you know. Albin Johnson, founder of the 501st, was like, oh, I'm going to wear some armor to the, you know, special editions of Star Wars. We're just going to, like, hang out and stand, you know, all they do is just stand around. But the people who are going to see the movie, they're like,
this is cool. We want more.
Yeah, let's go take pictures with them guys, you know. And then Albin learned, oh my God, there's a bunch of people out there doing this or wanting to do this.
Let's get a group together.
Yeah, and then it became a simple web page, and then it expanded and became 501st.com.
That's all it needs to do.
And then, you know, not much later, 2002, I believe, is when the Rebel Legion formed. And then all the Rebel Legion started. You know? I mean, I trooped with the Rebel Legion for like 3 years before I actually ever even joined them.
Oh, wow.
My first event was in 2005. And, you know, I did 2 things. I did a library event. So it was like a reading thing, and then we did a Make-A-Wish event at Walmart in Apple Valley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was amazing because, you know, we're all in our various costumes, and in the store, I mean, you've been there, right? I mean,
it's little.
It's not a huge store, but they had a line all the way around the store waiting to see us in costume. You know, my friend Dan Glitch, who's a wonderful dude, and I miss him to death. I think he lives in Vegas now. But they all lived here originally. But he had a Vader suit, and so he wore his Vader suit, and a bunch of us wore Jedi costumes because that's what I started with, and I've been pretty much a Jedi forever. And we were just, you know, had our photo taken, and the donations went to Make-A-Wish, and that was my first real, you know, thing. I actually joined in 2007, and, you know, didn't look back, you know, I just...
Yeah, me too. I originally saw Gabe at a convention. I wanted to join I wanted to join Rebel Legion first, but Rebel Legion came after Saber Guild.
Well, that was after you and I met, and
And the whole thing's history. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today here at Radio Geonosis. Please follow us on Facebook. Please like and subscribe on YouTube at Radio Geonosis. I also have an Instagram, Radio Geonosis, and on my Facebook, it is Radio Geonosis 2.0. So from all of us here at Radio Geonosis, please thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Geonosis. And tonight I am at Line Breakers, so to observe the X-Wing game tournament.
Correct.
And I am with
Sean McCord.
All right, so Sean, tell me a little bit about how long, when you got into this, how long you've been doing it, and exactly what you guys are doing tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course. Right, it's the X-Wing game is a miniature tabletop game. And I got into it about 3 years ago now, sometime in July 2016. That's when I started. And when I first found out about it, and it's a really fun game. It's okay, and basically it's just a tactical dogfighting game with Star Wars ships, basically, and that's what really first drew me to it was the theme Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan, right? And the ships and the dogfights, like the Battle of Endor was a big thing for me in Return of the Jedi. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie, and so the theme of the game is really fun, and then actually getting a chance to play it, it's a very tactical dogfight game, like I've said, and so it's a really thinking man's game. And like chess, we have to guess and dial your maneuvers in to maneuver and try to destroy your opponent. So it's a really fun game that way, and just the community is also pretty awesome.
Yeah, do you come every Friday to do this?
I try to, yes. I don't get to make it every Friday, but Fridays we either do a tournament like today, or it's just like a casual play day where we try to get as many people out as we can to play the game and teach new people or just have fun flying casual events and stuff like that.
Now you have to bring everything with you, right? You have cards and
Absolutely. Usually you bring everything with you, but we have a good community here, and a lot of people try to collect the whole thing when you only need a certain amount. So we can share ships with people and let them try it out before they actually buy anything. So you don't have to have it, but if you want to go to a tournament and play more on a higher level, you should probably have it.
Right, and you have, when you get the ships, do you have to paint them? What do you do?
All these models are pre-painted already,
oh, wow.
So you don't have to, but if you want to throw your little own flair onto it, you can paint them.
Yeah, and from what I saw, there was coins, there's...
Yes, there's different tokens that represent your shields, and your actions like focus or target locking with your targeting computer. And most of that when you first buy it is cardboard, but like when you play in tournaments and stuff, the company FFG has a prize support, which gives you metal tokens or acrylic plastic tokens to help add your own little flair to your tokens to show that you've
And watching it tonight was really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I like watching how you were doing this tactical stuff and how you have to think about, where you're going to move and what you want to do and with the dials and everything. This is really cool. This is the first time I've ever seen this.
Oh, okay.
So I've been to another comic book store and I saw the box with everything in it, and so I didn't really know exactly what it is. And so I've actually done a show before where we talked about tabletop games and role play games and all that. And so this is really cool to be able to see it
in action.
Yes.
It's pretty fun. It's a really fun game. It's fairly easy to learn, but to get to the little nuances, there's a lot to it. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm with Jerry. So, Jerry, tell me how you got into playing the X-Wing games, how long you've been involved, and what you really like about it, and all the stuff that you have.
Okay. Well, I've always been a Star Wars fan, number one. And when the game came along, I have a friend of mine's son who got me into this game, and he bought me a couple of ships. We played a few games. I got hooked, and it is a lot like chess. It's a little bit like space chess. You have to anticipate your opponent's moves, and in the meantime plan your moves, and when you get close enough to do battle, then you do battle. So it's very, very similar to chess, and I'm a big avid chess player.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very there's a lot of strategic moves that are going
Very
on,
much so.
and a lot of planning on what you're going to do and how you're going to fight, and it's been really interesting to watch. But when did you get into this? How long have you been involved?
I think I've been involved in it for about 3 years now, and it took a while to build up my collection. Just like any collector, you want to own everything, or like two of everything. So yeah, about 3 years that I've been involved in it.
Wow.
So on Friday nights, I'm here at the game shop.
But you know what? This is your form of relaxation, so
Yes.
it's really cool to be able to
Yes.
watch this. And, I'm enjoying seeing all the moves and everything that everybody are making and how they're playing the game and explaining it to me. I'm glad that you guys are sitting there explaining it to me, because at first when I stood there, I'm like, okay, so what's going on?
Yeah.
But I really like the fact that there's asteroid fields and gas clouds and things like that. So, and you have to be able to move around, and the cards that you take out to give you the moves. It's really cool to watch.
And that's also part of the attraction too. Is if you notice you've already noticed that this community is we're really friendly, and people come up and want to play. We offer our equipment, our gear, and get them interested, because we're always interested in building our community as well.
Right.
So,
Getting more people.
So
in.
it's a good community to play with. So you got to like the people that you play with.
Exactly, because you're in close proximity of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you got to like most of them. Some of them. I'm just kidding.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
All right, you're welcome.
Hi, I'm with.
I'm Roland.
Hi, Roland. Can you tell me how long you've been involved with this, and tell me a little bit about your collection?
Sure. I've probably been playing close to 3 years. And in my collection, I own every ship there is, because I'm
wow.
a collector of things like that. But I mainly like to play Galactic and First Order. And there's a new faction now called Separatists, and so I play those three. That's my three factions.
Oh, that's
I've been
cool.
playing. So
Now,
I just have the other ships just so I'll have them. They're Star Wars ships, right?
That's right, and they're really cool looking.
They are.
Can you tell me how you got into this?
It began with my son-in-law. I've always played board games. My son-in-law is a big Star Wars fan, and he's like, Roland, this looks like a fun game. You ought to check it out. And I had looked at it before, but because he was willing to play and I seen it was a two-player game, I bought the base set when The Force Awakens came out.
Oh, wow.
And then they moved, and I put everything away. And it sat for a bit, and then I ran into a friend of mine, and we got talking. It was something he wanted to try. So I told him I had the game, we tried it, and he really took off with it. And because of that, it kind of dragged me along, and I got more involved.
Yeah, because it looks really cool, and I do like some of the ships that you have. They're really cool looking. And I didn't get a chance to really watch your game, but it's a lot of strategic moves. There's a lot of different planning going involved with when you have to move everything and stuff.
Yes.
It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, in most of the lists, when you make your own lists, you can adapt them to your play style. And one thing I like, too, about this game, at least I think, every list has its strong points and its weaknesses. So going up against certain lists, you may have an advantage, and other lists, you don't.
Wouldn't that be the way it is in the galaxy?
That's the way it is everywhere, yes. Whoever knows your weakness, you're in trouble.
Well, thank you, Roland.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm with.
I'm Sean Tracy.
And how long have you been involved in this?
I think we're coming up on 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What got you into it?
I've always liked Star Wars growing up. One of the first Christmas presents I remember was the VHS box set.
Oh, wow.
First, before they started changing everything, it was just the director's version of it.
Right.
I think I got that when I was like 4. My parents got it for me.
Yeah, more for them.
But yeah, I always liked Star Wars. It was just really cool. I've been into sci-fi as long as I can remember. This is
wow.
It's science fantasy, and this is just awesome to me.
Yeah, and your collection.
I actually downsized just a little bit, but I liked the bounty hunter ships, the scum ships, the Republic. I just got them. I also play another game called Star Wars Legion, which is actually the little tabletop guys. I play Empire in that one, and then beyond that, I have a costume I put together for Star Wars Day this year.
Oh, wow.
I have that. Just a bunch of stuff like that.
Now, you were here for that Star Wars event that we did. I think I remember you were a Jedi.
No, I was walking around in the bounty hunter armor right there for the Zan Consortium.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I was here though. Yes,
You were
I was
here.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot going on that day. I had gone to 3 events, so I was pretty
No,
toasted.
and I was going back and forth. I ran a few demos on this table over here. I was also helping out front on the store.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
just generally being a busybody all day.
Now, when did you start doing the tabletop games on Friday night?
With the X-Wing, I've been doing that pretty much since I started playing X-Wing. Before that, though, ever since the store opened.
Oh wow.
I think, what year was that? That was 2014, 2015, something.
It's been here all this time?
Yeah, I actually found out about the store the week it opened, when it was just that side over there. They didn't even have this side open yet.
Oh wow.
And it was just the store section was maybe a 10 by 10 square.
Oh wow. That's But you know what? It seems like a really cool community, and coming out to watch you guys play the game has been really interesting. I didn't get a chance to see your games going on with Roland, but this has been really cool to watch and see. And thank you for
Yeah, no problem.
for joining
Nice
me
meeting you.
tonight.